Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into something I think a lot of us can relate to, that nagging feeling that you're a fraud. You know, that sense that you've somehow tricked everyone into thinking you're way more competent than you actually are. Well, it has a name. It's called Imposter Syndrome, and you'd be surprised just how common it is. So let me ask you this. Have you ever landed a new job, or maybe gotten the big promotion, and instead of feeling proud, you had this little voice in your head whisper, wow, you just got really, really lucky. If that sounds familiar, trust me, you are not alone. So what is this thing exactly? Well, the official definition is right there, but really, it's about the feeling. It's that constant, low-level anxiety that at any moment you're going to be found out as a fake, even when you're looking at a mountain of evidence that says you're successful. And get this, research suggests that a staggering 70 to 75% of people feel this way at some point in their careers. So let's just get this out of the way right now. This is not some personal failing. It's an incredibly common, very human experience. So here's our game plan for today. We're going to look at where this feeling comes from, break down the cycle that keeps it going, figure out how to spot the signs, and, most importantly, talk about how to start taming that inner critic.
All right, so where did this whole idea even come from? Well, the term imposter syndrome was actually coined way back in 1978. It was two psychologists, Dr. Pauline Clance and Dr. Suzanne Imes, who first noticed this pattern, specifically among high-achieving women they were studying.
Okay, to really get a handle on imposter syndrome, we need to understand the engine that keeps it running. It's called the imposter cycle. And the good news is, once you can see the pattern, you can actually start to break it. So here's how it works. It all starts with a new challenge, right? And that immediately kicks up a ton of anxiety and self-doubt. From there, you go one of two ways. You either procrastinate, or you go into complete overdrive and over-prepare. Either way, you succeed, but instead of feeling proud, all you feel is relief. Phew, you tell yourself, it was just luck, or I only pulled that off because I worked 10 times harder than anyone else. You never ever credit your own talent, and that just reinforces the idea that you're a fraud, setting you up for the exact same cycle the next time a task comes along. And this slide, wow, it just perfectly captures that internal tug of war, doesn't it? On the outside, your success looks effortless and solid, but on the inside, you're totally dismissing the achievement. That gap, that disconnect, that's the heart of the whole thing.
So how do you even know if you're stuck in this cycle? Let's take a look at some of the really common signs. See if any of these ring a bell for you. Okay, do any of these sound a little familiar? That persistent self-doubt? Or how about when someone gives you a compliment and you immediately brush it off? Maybe it's that feeling that the joy of a success only lasts for like 5 seconds before the anxiety about the next thing kicks in. These are all classic red flags for imposter syndrome.
Now, this whole thing doesn't look the same for everyone. It's not a one-size-fits-all deal. In fact, researchers have identified a few common types or archetypes, and you might see yourself in one or even a mix of a few of them.
First up, we've got the perfectionist. For them, 99% is basically a failure. They set these incredibly high standards for themselves, and as a result, they really struggle to delegate and can end up micromanaging everything. A huge step for the perfectionist is to consciously practice celebrating progress, not just some flawless, mythical final product.
Next up is the superhero. For this type, their self-worth is completely tied to their productivity. They're the ones working harder and longer than everybody else just to prove they belong there. And downtime, it just feels lazy or wasteful. The real challenge for the superhero is learning to see rest, not as a weakness, but as a critical part of being a high performer.
Then we have the natural genius. This person believes that if you're truly competent, things should just come easily to you. So when they have to struggle or really work at something, they feel intense shame. They see it as proof that they're a fraud. The goal for them is to embrace what we call a growth mindset, to start seeing effort not as a sign of failure, but as the actual path to getting better. And finally, there's the expert. They measure their worth by how much they know. They're always chasing the next training, the next certification, because they live in fear of being exposed as not knowing enough. A really great strategy for the expert is to try just-in-time learning, focusing on what you need for the task right in front of you, instead of feeling like you have to know everything before you can even start.
Okay, recognizing the signs and the types, that's a huge first step. But now, let's get to the good stuff. How to actually change the pattern by taming that loud inner critic. So this inner critic, think of it as that relentless narrator in your head that's always pointing out your flaws. And a lot of the time, it's not even your own voice.
It's an internalized voice from your past, maybe a critical parent, a tough teacher, or even a competitive friend. What we're trying to do here is essentially flip the script. You can see the difference right here. The inner critic is all about black and white thinking, flaws, and comparing yourself to others. The goal is to build an inner advocate, one that celebrates the small wins, focuses on progress, and reminds you that your worth is not up for debate.
So how do you actually build this inner advocate? Well, here are 4 things you can start doing like today. First, give your critic a name. A silly one works best. It helps create some distance. Second, become a detective and challenge its beliefs with cold, hard facts. If it says you're terrible at presentations, go find evidence of one you did well. Third, keep a running list of your accomplishments, a success file, big or small. And finally, and this one's huge, talk about it. Sharing these feelings with someone you trust is one of the fastest ways to break that feeling of isolation.
You know, journaling can be an amazing tool for this. Try having a conversation with your inner critic. Ask it some of these questions. You might actually be surprised to learn that, deep down, it's often trying to protect you from failure or embarrassment. Its methods are just really unhelpful. The researcher Brené Brown puts it so perfectly here. It's not about being flawless. It's about showing up and knowing that you are worthy right now with all your imperfections. Your worth just is. It's not up for discussion. And that really brings us to the path forward. Because let's be real, managing this feeling isn't a one-and-done kind of thing. It's an ongoing practice of self-awareness and, maybe more importantly, self-compassion.
You know, the goal isn't to completely get rid of self-doubt forever. That's probably not realistic. The real work is in changing your relationship with it, learning to hear that voice, acknowledge it, and then choose not to let it drive the car. It's about seeing yourself always as a work in progress. So I want to leave you with this one question to think about. What is one success, and it can be big or small, that you can fully and truly own right now? Maybe you nailed a huge project, or maybe you just managed to get out of bed when it felt hard. Because owning our successes, one by one, is the first real step to finally believing we deserve them.